Hello there, my beautiful soul family. A little surprise visit here, An unannounced visit. Welcome, my beautiful soul family. Happy. So the title of the message I have for you today is called Regretful and Still Blessed. Regretful and still blessed. Regretful and still blessed. And the way I came up with this topic or this title is because when I was doing my prayers earlier, I couldn't help but to think about the many people who go about life hanging along with a bag filled with regrets. And regrets, I believe it's safe to say that all of us at some point in time in our life, we have experienced some form of regret at some level. I don't believe that any of us, if we've been on this earth long enough, I don't believe any of us have never experienced regret. That is just something that comes with life experiences that we go through, choices that we make, right? So sometimes you see people, Santo hija mía, Cindy, my goddaughter, blessings to you. So sometimes you see people and you know that they're so talented and you know they're gifted and you know they're capable and you know they just have a way of doing things, or they're great at cooking, or they're great at singing, or they're great at dancing, or they're great at their job, or they're great at whatever it is that they do. And then yet they seem to be stuck in this bubble where they're basically not thriving. They're not flourishing. They're not really vibing at their highest potential. And you wonder why. You wonder, how is it that this person, I know my sister's super talented. I know my father is super intelligent. I know my mother's a great cook. I know that my best friend is a great artist, is a great painter. I know that my cousin, she's just so great at X, Y, and Z. And then yet, something about their life and about them feels contained, is the word I'm looking for. Feels restricted. It's almost as if they go about life talented and then yet bound to the restrictions, hear me out, bound to the restrictions that they have set for themselves. We're talking today to people that are talented, intelligent, gifted, and then yet their life is not thriving. It's not thriving. And I can't help but to wonder why. And in many cases, if this shoe fits, not everybody, but in many cases, one major reason why your life may not be thriving is because deep down in your subconscious mind, you're hanging around with old regrets. Regrets of what you did, regrets of what happened to you, regrets of the things that you have been part of, have partaked in, regrets of things that you thought you should have done and missed out, regrets about who you decided to be in a relationship with and you haven't gotten over it, regrets over the type of dynamic and relationship you have with your family. Any aspect of regret that still tends to be stuck in your heart, in your body, tends to restrict you and hold you back from stepping into your fullest and highest potential. Did that make sense? Is this making sense so far to you? It is important to understand that though you might have a particular area of your life that you feel regretful about, over your choices, over the things you allowed, over the things that you did and who you did it with, it does not mean that you are not blessed. Do you hear me? Just because when you were in your 20s, you did drugs, and now, you did drugs for such a long period of time of your life, your brain may not function the same, you may not have the same focus, you may not have the same concentration, you may not have the same memory. I don't know. So many different things come about, right, from people that do drugs for a long period of time. And then yet, this does not mean that you're not blessed. I want us to get to an understanding that we might feel regretful about certain things in your life. We might feel regretful about certain choices and experiences, but it does not mean that we are not blessed. And it does not mean that we can't still be fruitful. And it doesn't mean that we can't still shine. And it does not mean that we can't still thrive. I need you to allow this to sink into your soul. Because what I do notice in a lot of people that are super talented, super gifted, intelligent, and then yet they're not thriving, is because there's a certain part of their being that's hanging around in a department of regrets. And it is the thought of regrets, the thought of what I should have done, the thought of what I should have not done, the thought of I should have made a different choice, keeps you restricted, and it doesn't allow your wings to expand. So today, Spirit, the universe, the God of your understanding, is inviting you to, number one, let's look at a different approach that we can have towards this. The first step is allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to sit with your regrets. Hear me out. In order to be able to overcome the restrictive energy that your regrets have over your life, you have to take a moment to sit with your regrets. Just sit with them. What does that mean? It means I'm going to sit with my regrets, and I'm going to look at the things that I feel regretful about, but I'm going to do it in a way where I am not shaming myself, in a way where I'm not criticizing myself, in a way where I am not putting myself down. Do you hear me? Because one important thing that I have learned over the years in terms of dealing with regrets, people, friends, family, have a tendency of telling us, get over it. Let it go. Just let it go and get over it. Get over it, get over it, get over it. And what Spirit, the universe, has taught me, I cannot really heal the things that I choose to just get over it. It's not about getting over it. It's about being able to go through it. Do you hear me? Many of us have done a great job at getting over it. We put it in the back burner. We stick it in a drawer and act like it's not there. We tend to want to forget about it. But that's not really allowing us to heal the process, to heal the experience. It's not really allowing us to reach a level of understanding as to why I went through that. Why is it that I allowed this person into my life? And once I allowed them into my life and they hurt me and they abused me and they used me and they traumatized me, I still chose to make excuses for them, which then ultimately allowed myself to keep them in my life for years, until the day that something happened that totally brought about the rupture, or I woke up and smelled the coffee and said, this is not for me anymore. But now I realized that 5 years went by. I realized that 10 years went by. I realized that 20 years went by. And now I sit or dive into a pool of regrets. I feel regretful, or I feel shamed, or I feel guilty. The lesson today on this sacred Sunday is to give ourselves permission to sit with our regrets. Whatever it is that you feel regretful about, doesn't matter what it is. Sit with your regrets. Sit with them. Everyone has them. We all, in some way, shape, or form, have regrets. Regrets over our choices, relationships we've had, things we've done, things we haven't said, things that we denied, things that we could have done differently, regrets over not, finishing school, regrets over, I don't know who you are, but I just got a message right now, and it says, you love your son or you love your daughter, but maybe you feel regretful as to who you allowed yourself to be impregnated by. You love your dad or you love your mom, but you're regretful over the way that they treated you because it provoked you to say certain things that you wish you have not said. It provoked you to get angry and say hurtful things. And then when you were about to try to make things better, when you were about to, clear the air, when you were about to apologize, when you were about to make things right, death surprised them. Death surprised that person, and now, death took this person away from you, and you didn't get the opportunity to say, I'm sorry, or to clear the air, or to say, I love you, or to remind them that regardless of the ups and downs that went on between you two, that you actually did love this person, right? So it doesn't matter what kind of regrets you have. Spirit's invitation to you today is about you giving yourself permission to sit with your regrets. Just sit with them. Sit with them without judgment. Sit with them without self-criticism. Sit with them without shame. Because as I said a few minutes ago, many of us do a great job at getting over things, right? Releasing things, just get over it, right? As people like to tell us. But it does not truly bring about the healing that we desire, that we need, that we deserve in our life. And because when we get over things, get over it, doesn't really bring the healing that we deserve, we then are not able to thrive and shine and stand in our power and claim our power and vibe at our highest potential and, vibe at a high frequency, because somewhere in our subconscious mind, we are filled with regrets of the should've, could've, would've. And Spirit would like for you to today take steps into letting these regrets go. Why? Because, number one, you are not giving yourself the freedom to be your very best. It is hindering how you have a relationship with yourself. It is limiting how other people have a relationship with you too. How does that even work? Well, when I live a life full of regrets, I stop shining the way I should shine. When I have a life filled with regrets, I don't vibe at a high frequency. when I have a life full of regrets, I limit my exposure to the universe, to the world, to the people around me. Ultimately, we have to continue life. We have to continue waking up. We have to continue going to work. We have to continue taking care of our needs. We have to continue taking care of our bills. If you have children, you have to continue taking care of your child. But what they get from you, listen to me, please listen to me. What they get from you is very limited. What they get from you is restricted. What they get from you is just a piece of you. It's not the full you. Because all of you is not showing up. The all of you is not showing up. Regrets. Regrets have a way of when you end up, doing things that you thought you would never do. I never thought I would do such a thing. And then yet you ended up there, and now you're carrying that regret of, wow, I can't believe I allowed myself to do that. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I was part of this situation that has brought so much aches and turmoil and distress. You have to be able to sit with your regrets. What will regrets have you do throughout your life? Regrets will have you trying less. You won't go for the things that you should really go for because part of you feel that you don't even deserve it. So regrets will have you trying less. Regrets will have you doing the bare minimum. Just what you need to do in order to get through the day, nothing more and nothing less. Regrets. So regrets will have you trying less. Regrets will have you trying the bare minimum. Because you're not excited enough. Because that's another thing regrets do. It steals away excitement. It takes excitement away from your life. When excitement is taken away, we don't feel motivated enough to try new things, to engage into new things, to open up to new possibilities and new options and new opportunities. Because we were carrying regrets. What does regrets do to you? It disconnects you from hope. You feel regretful about who you were, the choices you made, the things that you were part of, the things that occurred in your life, that hope and you don't have the best relationship. You don't hope for greater things. You don't hope for better things. Regrets will also have you living in disbelief. There's a part of you that just can't believe that things can get better for you. There's a part of you that don't believe that life has something better to offer. There's a part of you that don't believe that you are able to thrive and shine. There's a part of you that don't believe that you are blessed. Could it be possible that perhaps you are judging yourself based on what it was, and you're side-blinded of what you can still be, of what you can still do, of how things can still be in your life? Because the way you are defining yourself is solely based on what was. This makes you feel like you're not blessed. This makes you feel like God, the God of your understanding, is not on your side. This makes you feel like the universe does not support you. This makes you feel like you're just another person. I want you to give yourself permission today, or whenever you feel mentally ready, give yourself permission to sit with your regrets. And I remind you again, when you sit with your regrets, you need to try your best to sit with your regrets, whatever they may be, without shame, without guilt, without self-criticism. Okay? Yes, you got pregnant at 15. So what? Yes, when you were younger, you married someone that you weren't fully in love with, hoping that you would eventually really fall in love with this person, but ultimately life proved to you that you weren't in love with this person, and then one day you met somebody that really made you feel ways that no one else had made you feel, and you decided to cheat on your husband. Okay? You're regretful that you're a woman or a man that has somewhere in your history an experience of betrayal. Yes, you did drugs. Yes, you used to be a stripper. Yes, you were maybe a call girl or an escort. Yes, you maybe had a couple of abortions. Yes, you love your daughter so much right now, but you feel so regretful over the fact that when you were pregnant with your daughter, you really didn't want this pregnancy. You really didn't want to have this child. But God decided differently. So what? Yes, you know your husband loves you to death, but you don't feel connected to your husband. So you feel shame. You feel shame and guilt over the fact that you go about your marriage or you go about your relationship as if everything is perfectly fine and it's okay, but in reality, deep down inside, you feel empty and you feel regretful. Okay? Whatever it is for you, bring your regrets to the table. Sit with your regrets. Sit with your regrets. Sit with that regret of feeling maybe you didn't tell your father how much you loved him and he passed away. Or maybe it was your grandmother. Your grandmother was always on your ass. She was always bickering. She was always, because she loved you. But you didn't understand that back then. And you were bothered by it. And you were uncomfortable by it. So you kept your distance. You didn't call her as much. You didn't visit as much. You didn't spend quality time as much. And now she's gone. And you feel regretful. You feel regretful that your mom and you weren't able to build a great relationship. And now she's gone. And you feel so regretful. You're regretful that you kept your son or your daughter away from her dad because you were still mad at him. You were still mad and upset over the things that he did to you, over the person that he decided to cheat on you with. And you, in retaliation, decided to keep his child away from him. And now that your child is older, and now that you understand that one of the greatest things that your child would have wanted is to have a relationship with his or her dad, but he passed away, and now you feel regretful that you had a say, you had an effect, you had power over that. Okay? Sit with your regrets. Sit with them. Because we cannot continue to get over it. The getting over doesn't allow the healing to take place. It's not about getting over it, as I said. It's not about getting over it. It's about going through it. Going through the process. Why? So that then you are able to understand what's the lesson. What's the lesson there for you? What's the lesson for you in that experience? What's the lesson in those things that you allowed? What's the lesson in that aspect of you that decided to partake in things that now you feel regretful over? What is the lesson? Spirit, God, universe, what is my lesson in this situation? And once the universe, God, Spirit reveals to you what the lesson is, then you need to give yourself permission to be at peace with what that situation might be. You need to give yourself permission to come to terms with what it was. Come to terms with the fact that you didn't say the right things at the right time. Come to terms with the fact that you didn't say I love you enough. Come to terms with the fact that you got pregnant at 15. Come to terms with the fact that you had 2 or 3 abortions. Come to terms with the fact that maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you weren't the best person for yourself. Simply come to terms with it. But let me again, for the 10th time, remind you, we cannot come to terms with things in a healthy kind of way when we are guilting ourselves, criticizing ourselves, shaming ourselves, judging ourselves, feeling less than, not feeling worthy. That's not the way to come to terms with your past experiences. That is not the way to come to terms with anything that happened to you or anything that you did that you feel regretful about. That's not the way to come to terms with it. You can only come to terms with the past by understanding what the lesson is of that experience, from that experience, and decide to turn it over to the universe. Be at peace with it. Be at peace with it. Because guess what? I'm going to lay this in your heart and I'm going to let you go. Spirit says, the universe says, your spirit guides says, your ancestor says, that any amount of regret that you have in your life right now, over whatever it is, from something from happened a year ago, from something that you did 10 years ago, whatever amount of regrets you have does not fit into your schedule. Let me repeat that again. Whatever amount of regrets you have right now in your life about anything, it does not fit into your schedule. What I mean by this is there's a schedule ahead. There's a schedule that's requiring you to show up in the best way possible. There's a schedule that you have not created. It's a schedule that God, Spirit, the universe, the divine source of your understanding has created for you. And regrets does not have a space in there. Regrets does not have a space in your schedule. For you to continue, listen to what I'm about to lay in your heart. For you to continue to forcibly include regrets in your life is a continuation on your part of aborting the blessings that God, Spirit, the divine, wants to bestow upon you. Did you hear that? Did anybody hear that? Is there one person that at least heard that? Is there at least one person that heard that? Do you hear me? Do you hear me, my soul family? For you to continue to forcibly include regrets into your life, it is a way for you to continue aborting the blessings that God wants to bestow upon you. Okay? It's like God wants to give you blessings. Spirit wants to give you blessings. The universe wants to bless you. Your ancestor wants to bless you. And you keep aborting it. You keep aborting your blessings. because you're dancing with your regrets. I invite you to give yourself permission to go through these regrets. Sit with them. Sit with your regrets. And instead of shaming yourself and criticizing yourself and judging yourself and calling yourself names, because I don't know who you are, but Spirit knows who you are. And some of you have a tendency of calling yourself names. I'm stupid. I'm this. I'm a whore. I'm not worthy. Instead of doing all that, take a moment to ask God, what would you have me learn from this experience that I feel so regretful about? What would you have me learn from this experience that I feel so regretful about? Ask the universe, ask God, ask Spirit, ask the divine source of your understanding. What will you have me learn from this regret that I feel so heavily in my heart? And then be open. Be open to the guidance the universe wants to give you, so that you stop once and for all hindering your destiny because of your regrets. Excuse me. I want to remind you that even though there are things in your life that you feel regretful about, I want to remind you that even though there were experiences that in the privacy of your heart, in the privacy of your mind, when you lay your head on your pillow at night, regrets comes to visit. Even though you feel regrets, it does not mean that you are not blessed. Do you hear me? It is time to start rewiring your mind. It is time to transform the way you are used to thinking, so that you stop identifying yourself through the old experiences, through the old choices that made you feel regretful. As long as you keep defining yourself, as long as you keep identifying with your regrets, you will not see the blessings come. You will not rebuild a relationship with hope. You will not stand firm in your faith. Faith in you, faith in life, faith in whatever it is that you believe in. Because faith, this is my last message for you. Spirit says that faith, hope, blessings, and opportunities cannot cohabit in the same space with regrets. It can't. It cannot. It cannot. I forgot to mention one thing that's coming to me right now. And I don't want to overextend this live, but let me tell you something. It's not always the case. It's not always the case, but you'd be surprised how some of us, this is a whole topic. I'm going to have to do a whole live for it by itself. You'd be surprised how many humans have inherited regrets. Yes, you heard me right. There is such a thing in spirituality. Inherited regrets. When you really sit with what you feel is your regrets, and you really ask God to shine light as to what you are supposed to learn from this feeling, some of you might end up coming to the conclusion that, wait a minute, I'm feeling regretful over something that didn't even start with me. I'm feeling regretful over things that I didn't even initiate. I am feeling regretful over things that I didn't even do. Inherited regrets. Okay? That's a big one to unpack. That is a big one to unpack. There's one thing to feel regretful over things that you consciously know you did. Abortion you had, things you said that hurt people. You were part of a situation of infidelity. You stole something that wasn't yours. You did something that is not to be applauded. Yes, accept your responsibility over the things that you did. But it's a whole different ball game when we have inherited regrets. Inherited regrets. Regrets over things that I did not do because it was passed down to me by mama or by daddy or by grandma. And I'm living a life carrying a load of regrets that when I sit to think about it, it's like, wait a minute. I didn't do these things that I feel regretful about. This is just something that I've been experiencing since I was a small child. I grew up in this environment, listening to mom and dad and grandma, carrying this load. And now I've taken the responsibility over these regrets, but it didn't start with me. It didn't start with me. That's the spiritual aspect of regrets. The spiritual aspect of regrets. Okay? Another aspect of inherited regrets. Let's just say that your mom. Ay Dios mío. Why am I going here right now? Spirit, well, I follow the lead. Maybe your mom, at the time of her death, made you responsible over your brother. This is just an example. Your mom was dealing with cancer and she was dying, and she made you feel responsible over your brother. She said, when I'm no longer here, you are responsible over your brother. And you have tried so hard to fulfill that promise you made. Yes, Mom, I promise that I will take care of my brother. But it happens to be that your brother decides to go down a rabbit hole. He decides to end up in gangs, or he decides to end up doing drugs, or he decides to just have a different kind of life that would have never been what Mom would have wanted. And it's not what you would have wanted for him either. But guess what? You have no control. You have no control over the choices that your brother chooses to do. But you feel guilty and you feel regretful because you made a promise to Mom that you would take care of him. You can't force somebody to be better. You can't force somebody to do the right thing. You can't force somebody to show up. You can't force somebody to be responsible. You can't force somebody to take ownership over their decisions and over their choices and over the right way of doing things. You can't. So perhaps in your experience, in your situation, perhaps the lesson for you is about being able to let go of that responsibility that was greater than your capacity because it wasn't meant for you to take care of this. It wasn't meant for you to take care of it. Mama didn't know brother was going to end up in drugs. Mama didn't know that brother was going to be a hot mess. Mama didn't know that at that moment that she had you promise that you would take care of him. And how does that become an inherited regret? I'll tell you why. From a spiritual perspective, That mother is suffering over her son. That mother is suffering seeing what her son is doing here on earth. That mother is carrying a spiritual burden, spiritual regret of she wishes she would have been alive because she knows that if she would have been around, she would have tried her best for her son to not be in the situation that he is. She feels a spiritual regret because she's not present. And you who made that pact, who made that promise, you're carrying the emotions that your mother is feeling at the spiritual realm, at the spiritual level. That's why it's an inherited regret from which spirit, the universe, the God of your understanding, wants to set you free from today. Be at peace with the fact that it's not your fault your brother is on drugs. And again, I'm using that as an example, but needless to say, this can fall into numerous of scenarios. Okay? It is time for you to get you back. It is time for you to understand who you can still be. It is time for you to really meet the new version of you. It is time for you to sit with your regrets without shame, without judgment, without guilt, and simply understand what the lesson is, so that then you can actually move forward. Move forward. Not around the situation, not over the situation, not under the situation, but through it. You can only heal when we go through it, and then we can move forward. And this is precisely why ancestral healing is also so important. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Holy Spirit, Divine Source, God, Mother Earth, Universe, Father, Mother, God, we today, we pray that whatever understanding, whatever clarity we are supposed to receive from today's download, may it be revealed to us without interruption. May it be revealed to us without any setbacks, so that we are able to understand where we are supposed to go, moving on forward. Allow the burdens to be uplifted. Allow the regrets to be released. Allow healing to take place in the hearts and minds of my soul family, wherever it's needed the most. And so it is. Ashe. Madupe. Amen. Odabo. Muchas gracias. Thank you. May you have a blessed rest of your Sunday. And please share this live. Tag someone you know needs to hear this message today. And I'll see you soon. I love you all. Have a blessed rest of your day. Adios.